Moonraker is the 11th James Bond movie. It was originally not supposed to be For Your Eyes Only. It was supposed to come out next, but because the because Star Wars was released that year in 1977 when Spy Who Loved Me came out, it was released after Spy Who Loved Me, and it was such a big box office hit that it revitalized the sci-fi genre, and the people behind the James Bond franchise wanted to catch in on that genre, just like they did with the kung fu genre and Man with Golden Gun and the black exploitation genre and Live and Let Die. So they did a sci-fi Bond movie with aerospace, astronauts, and no aliens, of course, like laser guns instead of machine guns, like the visual effects with the space battle and the laser guns. I'll get to that later. Um, Richard Kiel is back as Jaws, and Roger Moore is back as Bond, and the fight scene between Bond and Jaws is pretty interesting. This is a big twist with Jaws 2. I'll get to later. Lewis Charles plays Bond's love interest, Holly Goodhead, and a NASA scientist who's also later revealed to be a CIA agent. And well, I didn't know that Holly, her name Holly Goodhead was a double entendre when I first watched this. I remember buying a VHS copy of it at the dollar store back when VHSs were slowly going out of print, and the dollar store, Dollar General, was the only one that still sold old VHS movies. Um, and anyway, I did like this movie when I took it home and watched it. Then I don't have the video anymore, but I've been doing a marathon on Netflix. Anyway, the plot in this movie is pretty good. Bond and Goodhead have good chemistry together. The actors pull off their performances very well. The guy who plays the uh, Drax, the evil mastermind who wants to nuke the world and start a master race with his Space Force type fortress out there in outer space. He's a good, pretty cool villain, and he has this python that Bond fights in the rainforest later. And after Bond kills it, Drax says, "You killed my pet python," and Bond said he had a huge crush on me. Yeah, he has some pretty good one-liners in this movie. Like when he finds this Japanese assistant who's working for Drax earlier in the movie, this Japanese guy, he's got on this like kendo gear and a wooden kendo sword. I mean, why didn't they just use a real samurai sword? And he fights Bond in this museum, and Bond takes this old fencing sword and he cuts up the wooden sword. Why would you use a wooden sword? But I digress. Then they drop their swords, do hand to hand, and then they're in this clock tower, and Bond knocks him out, and he lands on this piano where this orchestra concert is below, and Bond says, "Play it again, Sam." Of course, I didn't know at the time that was also a reference to a movie, the Woody Allen movie, Play It Again, Sam. Very good movie. And mm, there's other Bond girls like Manuela, who's this Hispanic lady with a British accent in Rio de Janeiro that Bond briefly teams up with, who was murdered by Jaws. And there's another, like one of Drax's female assistant. When Bond meets Drax, he seduces her later, and then Drax has his dogs chase her down and eat her alive, which is well, they don't eat her alive on screen; it's off screen, but you hear her scream when they get her. And there's a scene with Bond where he's hunting with Drax, and there's a sniper up in the tree trying to kill Bond, and Bond fires one of these birds fly and fires, and Drax says, "You missed them," and Bond says, "No, I didn't," and the sniper falls from the tree. There's a lot of funny moments in this movie. The action scenes are pretty good. There's a boat chase in Venice I like, boat chase in the rainforest I mentioned, the fight with the python, and the fights with the fights with Jaws, who can't be killed, indestructible. He falls from an airplane. He loses the parachute, lands on the circus tent, survives. Falls from this like cable car, survives, and meets rescued by this lady who he falls in love with, and she's not very attractive at all. Just why would he fall for her? And it does help him to turn into a good guy. 'Cause they say a bunch of they got a fan letters from kids wanting them to make Jaws a good guy in the next one because they liked him so much, but doesn't change the fact that Jaws murdered a bunch of people in the previous film. So why are you making this crazy murderer a good guy now? It is what it is. But I didn't mind the change as a kid, and it's all right now. It does like anger me a bit because he didn't really deserve to turn good. Uh, And he speaks for the first time in this movie when him and his girlfriend take the champagne. He pours a glass, and he said, "Well, here's to us." Ding. And well, the reason he turns good basically is because like when he's working for Drax and they're in the space station, I think Drax plans to like leave him there to die or something, and then he turns against him and helps Bond. The then the U.S. Marines come and all these like space astronaut gear, and there's this big laser battle in space with Drax's henchmen. And another complaint about this movie, like Miss Good, not Good Night, Good Holly Goodhead, she uses a laser gun, and the Marine astronauts use laser guns. The Drax's henchmen use laser guns. Bond doesn't use a laser gun. Instead, he uses like dart wrist dart gadget that Q gave him earlier, where when he's having a showdown with Drax, he says, "Now I can kill you, Bond." And Bond lifts his hand up, and the dart shoots from his wrist and hits him in the chest, and he says, "What a heartbreak!" And then he says, "Allow me, take a giant step for mankind." And he opens this door that lets him outside into space where it just sucks him out there with no spacesuit at all, and Drax dies from not being able to breathe. And Goodnight says, "Where's Drax?" And he says, "No, Goodnight, Goodhead." I keep saying Goodnight. Holly Goodhead says, "Where's Drax?" And one says, "He took a flight." And then they escape and they stop these rockets from being shot down at the Earth. And then after the mission's complete and the spaceship explodes and Dawes and his girlfriend escape, Bond and Good Goodhead Holly, Dr. Holly, they make love, and there's zero gravity. They're flying around the world in their spacecraft, and they're making love zero gravity and covered in a blanket. And their superiors back on Earth, they get a video message from them, and then they see them floating and making love. They're like, "Goodness sakes, what's Bond doing?" And I believe he's attempting re-entry. I didn't get that joke as a kid, and Bond, good good heads. He says, "What do you want to do now?" And he said, "Let's go around the world one more time." And this does have a good theme, Moonraker theme song. It's a nice, sweet theme song, although not one of the best, not one of my favorites. This is a good movie, one of my favorite Bond movies. I give it 2 thumbs up. All right, that's it for now. Thank you. God bless. Bye.